Can't you just feel it? The fake cobwebs, the fake spiders, the pumpkin spice basic bitches, the so bad yet so good horror movies? Yep, Halloween is definitely upon us, everybody. So why not celebrate it with another Halloween themed game, eh? However, I'm gonna set up the backstory for this game because, you know, it's Halloween and usually a lot of this horror type stuff gets a little bit of the background stuff before you actually go into the main course. Or you could just read the title of this video and just ignore whatever I'm gonna be saying in the next couple of minutes. It's your choice. Okay, picture yourself in this situation. Yeah, I know, weird way to start the video, but bear with me. You are a knight in the 13th century, well, by name only because you lied your way up to be one because the king was so enamored with your stories of slaying dragons and vanquishing demons. Due to your amazing storytelling, you are knighted and put in charge of the royal battalion. That's all fine and dandy because Gallowmere, the kingdom you're serving under, has not seen war in many centuries. Where your life takes a turn for the worse because guess what? A war was started. Who started this war? The evil sorcerer Zarok, who has returned from years in exile. Of course, you being in charge of the royal battalion, you're put in the front lines of war, only to be slain in the opening seconds of battle by the very first arrow shot piercing your left eye. That was the life of Sir Daniel Fortescue. Wait, am I reading that right? Fortescue. Yeah, I got that right. That was the life of Sir Daniel Fortescue when he was alive for the time being. You just control his course in the PS1 game that is criminally underrated, MediEvil. Now, what do you think when you're given the question, what games define the PS1? Some people would say Crash Bandicoot, others would say Spyro, better yet, the 3 Final Fantasy games that were released on it, but you never hear MediEvil when the question is posed. In my opinion, MediEvil is part of the holy triforce of Western main games for the PS1, along with Crash and Spyro. It's just one that is overlooked and didn't have as much sequels compared to his brethren. With the remake being released in due time, it gives me hope that the Trifecta can once again be seen in the public eye again. Funny thing to note about the developers about this game, at the time of the studio was known as Sony Computer Entertainment Cambridge, try saying that 5 times fast, who developed MediEvil later on became part of Guerrilla Games until the Cambridge division was dissolved for poor performance. Yes, that Guerrilla Games. Not to be confused with the actual parent company which is based in the Netherlands that made Horizon Zero Dawn. To put it simply, MediEvil's the love child of action-adventure games and combines it with the insane vision of Tim Burton as his theme. You get a macabre feel of this game, and I mean you play as a skeleton and half of the enemies are horror-based like zombies, soulless citizens, and an evil wizard to deal with. Hell, some might even call it a 3D version of Ghosts and Goblins minus the insane difficulty curve, but even then that's a bit of a stretch calling it the 3D version of Ghosts and Goblins. But what makes this game different from other horror-esque games is that the game's sense of humor with the cheeky dialogue that the NPCs have to take jabs at Sir Daniel.
It has risen again, Sir Daniel Fortescue, see? The hero of Gallowmere who fell at the first charge. The fog of war and the shrouds of time conspire to turn the arrow fodder into the saviour of the day. But we knows better.
To even the weapons, it's not like every day you can use a chicken drumstick as a means of destroying an army of the undead, let alone use your own arm to beat enemies with it. Don't you know that bones hurt? You can give someone a concussion with one. So as I stated before, you play Sir Daniel Fortescue, who has been revived 100 years later in skeleton form due to Zarok once again causing havoc by reviving the dead and stealing the souls of villagers. Not knowing that he revived Sir Daniel. Sir Dan's demise wasn't of epic proportions, so of course the king decided to cover up the truth and spun one hell of a story that Sir Dan has killed Zarok, but at the cost of his life. Of course, for the sake of not making Dan the laughingstock of the entire Gallowmere. The king took this lie so far that a hero's tomb was built just for Fortescue himself. In reality, he's a joke to the other heroes since he was not admitted to the Hall of Heroes. Listen to the dialogue, one of the heroes taking even more jabs at Dan.
Mr. Fortescue, I want to talk with you. This Zorak's so bad. Why'd you get to go back? Why'd you of all people, Fortescue?
Yikes. That's gotta not be a good feeling that you're not really a hero because of how far you took your own lie. Then again, the lie got too big to handle. The goal for Sir Dan is to defeat Zarek and hopefully become a hero in the eyes of other heroes. The game is a weird mix of genres to put into one exact genre. You got some action-adventure elements to it while you have bits of hack and slash gameplay. However, you got a little bit of platforming to deal with in this game, even if it's miserable. We'll get to that aspect later in the review, of course. The game is spread around with different themes on each level, ranging from graveyards, crystal mines, an anthill, and even a pirate ship. Wait a second, were pirates even a thing in the 13th century? Because it seems a bit out of place. Most levels have a goal to complete, from something as simple as collecting an item to be used in another level, to finishing the level or beat the boss. Each level has a secondary goal of filling up your chalice to 100%. In order to fill it up, you kill enemies till you reach it. Hey, my chalice is not filled up. My cup is not filled. I need more wine in my cup. Wait, so you're telling me that wasn't wine? That was the blood and souls of the dead people. Oh boy, I'm gonna need some time to... After you fill up said chalice and complete the level, you head to the Hall of Heroes where you get roasted by a gargoyle head.
Back from the battle so soon? It must think it is a hero by now. But only a true hero is worthy of a place in the Hall of Heroes. See the ghostly statue of your fraudster self? When it has turned solid, a true hero you will be.
Might as well call this game the roasting of Sir Daniel Fortescue on Comedy Central. Anyways, once you see the statue glowing, talk to it and you usually get new weapons or health upgrades out of them. There are a total 20 chalices, one for each level in the game. Also, fair warning, don't kill innocent people, let alone the soulless villagers in the Sleeping Village. It will drop your chalice percentage by a significant amount. I learned that the hard way and had to restart the level as a result. If you are playing this game for the first time, don't neglect the chalices. The weapons given to you in the Hall of Heroes get progressively better and it will help you out in the end of the game. These weapons include a hammer to help break down some armor enemies, bows and crossbows to attack from a range, literal lightning you can chuck at your enemies, but the most important weapon of that bunch is the chicken drumstick. Nah, I'm kidding, it's the magic sword. It can one-shot a bunch of weak enemies and can help you with the final boss since he has a lot of health. However, speaking of the chicken drumstick, it does have a second ability to it. If you charge it up, you can turn a group of enemies in your surrounding area to plates of roasted chicken. Dan can eat them up to regain health as a side bonus. Wait, he has no lower jaw. How is he able to eat in the first place? Oh, who am I kidding? This game doesn't take itself too seriously. You get dialogue from the statues that give it these weapons, and in turn, diss Sir Dan and his unheroic demise.
Bravo, Fortescue! Some of the other chaps wagered Zarok would be using your ribcage as a toast rack by now, but I knew you'd pull through.
He can't win at all in the situation he's in. I almost feel kinda bad for Dan the more I keep playing this game. Don't worry though, as the game progresses, characters will start to warm up to Dan, especially in the final moments in the game as it gets closer and closer to Zarok's lair.
Sir Daniel Fortescue, standing bold as you like in the foyer of Zarok's castle. Who'd have thought it? Not us, that's for sure.
I like the fact how they give you a decision if you want the item they are given to you. It's almost as if they want you to press no just to see the reaction, but at the same time, having a bigger arsenal is always a plus. Who doesn't want a hammer to crack enemies' heads open? I know I do. Google, play Hammer Smash Face by Cannibal Corpse on Spotify. Money is also collected in this game too. It is used for buying items that have limited uses like bows, spears, and shields. Not going to lie though, I didn't spend much money until it was clear I needed a refill of supplies. Even then, it was pretty situational to use these items, like if I wanted to pick off enemies from afar, or if I'm afraid of getting my sword robbed by these gremlin looking things. Another word of advice, don't let these little fucks take your sword. If they crawl back into the hole, you will have to buy your sword off the market and it's pretty expensive. Health in this game is in the form of life bottles. Dan does not immediately die once his health bar goes to 0. Once his health goes to 0, the game will automatically use up a life bottle to bring your health back to max. Life bottles can be filled through the rejuvenation fountains, but only 2 life bottles can be filled at a time. One bullshit thing about this game is that Dan suffers from hydrophobia, because once he falls into a deep pit of water, he can't swim his way out and loses a life bottle as a result. What the hell? Okay, let me get this straight. A skeleton that wears an armor sinks into the water, yet he doesn't fall apart when he holds a sword or a hammer. Something's not physically right with this game. Who am I kidding? It's a video game. Nothing makes sense, especially with the art design for this game. Looks like an early 2000s Cartoon Network show. Your life bottle reserves don't reset back to full once you finish a level. Even when you get a chalice and head to the Hall of Heroes for an extra life bottle, you won't replenish any life bottles. I had to go out of my way back to the first level to find a rejuvenation fountain in order to replenish my life bottles. It would make a lot more sense to just, I don't know, buy more health in the Gargoyle merchant shop. This felt forced upon you once you finish a very difficult level, like they wanted to pad the game down in the first place. Against enemies, Dan can swing his sword around with the X button. Yes, you heard me right. It is one of those games where the X button is the attack button and the jump button is in the circle button. You can charge Dan's swing by holding the square button. Like many other weapons in this game, the charge attack is very situational, as it is a good backup for a number of enemies if you are surrounded by them. Otherwise, there's no other situation to use it since your regular attacks can be rapidly pressed and it kills enemies quickly. One gripe I have about the combat is that the hit detection can be janky. You can be rapidly swinging away while very close to your enemy and you still cannot connect with the enemy. Yet an enemy can do as much as touch or graze Dan, he takes damage. I admit, I can get a bit reckless, but when the hit detection is hit or miss, no pun intended, you kinda feel some of those can be pretty cheap. Who can forget about the humor in this game? The range of humor this game has in store is a range from the quirky jokes to the dark humor that can be a bit off-putting to some people. Then again, that is why dark humor exists. Even the enemies are quirky in a sense. Do you see how the zombies move in this game? Looks like they're doing premature auditions for Michael Jackson's Thriller. Or better yet, the crazy ladies with the frying pans in the Sleeping Village. They sound maniacal just on their singing alone, but add a weapon to a crazy person, you're just asking for trouble. The voice acting in this game is what brings these characters alive. Adding a bit of personality can go a long way to add to the charm. This game takes every aspect of exploration, puzzle solving, hack and slash, and some platforming and mixes it all together to get a melting pot of a game. While most of these aspects are done well, there are some parts of the game that make you want to toss the controller to the other side of your room, like how sensitive it is to control Sir Dan. He's like a slip and slide if I make one false movement in this game. Platforming balancing on narrow walkways suddenly become a nightmare to handle. I lost a lot of life bottles to this, and in some cases gave me a game over. If this game had a little bit of a sensitivity option, I would have tuned it down to make Sir Dan move less like butter on a pan. One level that perfectly encapsulates my rage is the lake level. Narrow platforms throughout the whole level combined with enemies that can push you off said platforms don't bode well in my sanity, and I gotta tell you, it's off the fucking charts right now. Don't even get me started with the damn pools of the ancient dead. This video would go on longer than usual if I'm not willing to put you guys through a long-winded rant. Just know you're going to have a bad time if you're not careful with the way how you play. When the remake comes out, I really hope there's a sensitivity setting to tighten up the controls a bit. The camera is also a pain in the dick to handle. It works fine in open areas, but when it comes to small corridors, the camera gets stuck in certain places, and you usually have to wrestle with the controller to get the damn camera fixed. This icon right here on the bottom right is going to be public enemy number 1 as you keep playing through the game. Now that I talk about my gripes, let's go over the bosses in this game. Unlike many action games where you expect the boss at the end of each level, it is more peppered out throughout the game. Not including the final bosses, there are only 6 bosses in the game. Some of them are kinda meh, with the only exception being the stained glass demon and maybe the dragon battle, but that's just about it. Bosses can range from pushover to annoying, especially when they are tied to a level that is already annoying to deal with, like the captain in the pirate ship level. The platform in the level is already high in the pain skill, and now I have to deal with this guy that runs around like a little pussy while his own lackeys take care of the job eliminating me. Another kick in the balls is that these henchmen don't die as they are capable of coming back to life. Okay, so here's the deal. I'm about to explain the final boss of this game. If you don't want to be spoiled with what's in store in this battle, skip to this time stuff over here so you can avoid this part. I'll give you 10 seconds to do so. Alright, 10 seconds are up. Let's go. The final boss of this game is a 3-stage effort, the first of which you use a weapon called the Good Lightning, which is given to you in a treasure box in the arena. Yes, that is the name of the weapon, the Good Lightning. You use an army of the undead to fight against Zarok's army. You don't even fight them, your entourage fights them for you. Your job is to keep them alive using the Good Lightning to heal them up when they are about to become red, which indicates their health. Once you are done with this phase, you go against Zarok's right-hand man, Lord Kardok, who in my opinion looks like the Pale Rider in the Persona games minus the hood. He is quite the pushover if you have the magic bow. It surprisingly takes a good chunk of his health with one arrow hits him. After you beat him, you'll be blessed with the most British line of all British lines throughout this game.
Bugger.
Ha! That's funny even for a filthy American like me. Aw, look how angry he is. It's so cute. Finally, we go against the man Zarok himself, who pulls out a special magic to transform himself into this monstrosity. I mean seriously, you could play a fucking xylophone through his entire neck. Look at this. You know what will make this scene better? A SpongeBob scene dubbed over this entire thing.
Whoever's the owner of the white sedan, you left your lights on.
Much better. He's not that difficult to beat either, however, he does take a good chunk of your health if you're not too careful. Just keep circling him around till you hit his tail, then he is down for the count. Now for the ending, if you collected all the chalices like the good gamer you are, the true ending will appear before you. Sir Dan finally earns himself a spot in the Hall of Heroes where he is finally the hero he always wanted to be. Ha, that's funny because he has no job after drinking that wine. So where does the game go from here? Well, we do know the remake is coming out in a week at the time of recording this. For it to fit in the modern times, I would change the control sensitivity to give players a much more comfortable time to play the game. Newer gamers are going to pan this game because of the controls alone, and I don't want this game to be panned out because of that one reason alone. For example, look at The World Ends With You on Switch. The game is amazing, the story, the gameplay, it's just the controls are so bad. I mean, seriously, you're using the freaking Joy-Con to point on the screen, which is known to not be accurate at all? That's just a recipe for disaster. Otherwise, this game is a cult classic with this top-notch gameplay, its off-brand of humor, and its replay value if you haven't collected all the chalices yet. If we can ignore the blemishes, you'll have no problem playing through this game at all. Hence why my final score for this game gets a Dan's speech out of 10. You know, since the remake is coming out, I'll make a follow-up video on how the game is compared to the PS1 version. I'll let you guys know when that's out, but it's probably gonna have to be Halloween though. But anyways, this is Jug signing out, and see you in the next video, and have a happy Halloween.